Dr. Sarah Chen hadn't slept in 48 hours, but the anomaly on her quantum field monitor demanded attention. The massive holographic display dominating the orbital research station's main lab showed something impossible. A pattern in what should have been random quantum noise, spanning the entire solar system. "Director Matthews," she called, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "I think you need to see this." James Matthews floated through the zero-gravity laboratory, his weathered face reflecting the blue glow of the holographic display. 20 years of directing humanity's deep space research program had taught him to trust Sarah's instincts. "What am I looking at, Doctor?" "At first, I thought it was an equipment malfunction." Sarah manipulated the display, zooming out to show the entire solar system. "But look at this pattern. It's like a lattice, extending from just beyond Pluto's orbit all the way to Mercury. The quantum entanglement readings are off the charts." "Natural phenomenon. Impossible." Sarah shook her head, her short black hair drifting in the microgravity. "This is engineered. The precision, the complexity. We're looking at technology centuries beyond anything humanity has achieved." Matthew's expression darkened. "How long has it been there?" "That's the thing." Sarah pulled up another dataset, overlaying it on the first. "These are readings from 50 years ago, when we first started quantum mapping. The pattern is identical. This structure, whatever it is, has been here longer than we've had the ability to detect it." The implications hung heavy in the recycled air. Humanity wasn't alone in the universe, and someone had built something massive around their solar system without them noticing. "Classification level Omega," Matthews declared, already reaching for his secure comlink. "Get me Admiral Torres at Seoul Defense Command." Within hours, the station's observation deck had been converted into a secure command center. Admiral Elena Torres' hologram stood at the center of the room, surrounded by the world's leading scientists and military strategists. The atmosphere was tense with equal parts excitement and apprehension. "Dr. Chen," Torres addressed Sarah directly, "explain to me how we've missed this for so long." Sarah stepped forward, bringing up her latest models. "Think of it like trying to see air, Admiral. It's all around us, but until you have the right tools and know what to look for, it's invisible. This structure exists primarily in quantum space, with only the faintest footprint in normal spacetime. But you can see it now. Thanks to the new quantum mapping array we installed last month, it's given us resolution we've never had before." Sarah paused, choosing her words carefully. "Admiral, this isn't just a barrier or a wall. It's active. There are energy flows, maintenance systems, and what appear to be repair protocols. It's not just surviving out there. It's adapting." A murmur ran through the assembled experts. Matthews stepped forward. "Show them what you found this morning, Doctor." Sarah nodded, bringing up a new simulation. "We've detected periodic energy pulses from the structure. They're subtle, but they appear to be scanning the solar system. More importantly, we found what look like access nodes, points where the structure's quantum field interfaces with normal space." "Can we interact with these nodes?" Torres asked, her holographic eyes sharp with interest. "Theoretically, yes. But—" Sarah hesitated. "Admiral, this technology is so advanced that interfacing with it wrong could have catastrophic consequences. We need time to study it, to understand its purpose." "Time may be something we don't have," Matthews interrupted, bringing up his own data. "Show them the degradation patterns, Sarah." With a grim nod, Sarah displayed another overlay. "The structure is failing. Slowly, but steadily. I estimate we have maybe 2 years before critical systems begin to collapse. Without knowing its purpose, we can't predict the consequences." Admiral Torres' hologram paced the deck, a habit from her days commanding starships. "Options. We've detected what appears to be a primary control node in high orbit around Jupiter," Sarah explained. "If we can reach it, we might be able to access the system's core functions. But we'll need resources, a specialized team, and new technologies we haven't even invented yet." Torres nodded sharply. You'll have whatever you need. Director Matthews, I'm authorizing Project Guardian effective immediately. Dr. Chen, you'll lead the scientific team. She turned to address the entire room. Ladies and gentlemen, humanity just inherited an alien megastructure. Let's figure out what it does before it falls apart around us. As the meeting disbanded, Sarah returned to her quantum displays. Among the complex patterns of energy and information, something caught her eye. A new variation in the scanning pulses, as if the structure had noticed them noticing it. She dismissed it as paranoia born of exhaustion, but in the back of her mind, a thought lingered. What if the failing alien construct wasn't the only thing watching Earth? Outside the station's reinforced windows, Jupiter hung like a massive jewel against the black of space. Somewhere in orbit around that giant world lay answers to questions humanity hadn't even known to ask. Sarah had a feeling they wouldn't like all of those answers. 2 years, she muttered to herself, already planning the experiments they'd need to run. Let's hope that's enough time to solve a mystery older than our civilization. 6 months into Project Guardian, Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the command center of humanity's first quantum interface vessel, the Prometheus. Through the reinforced viewport, Jupiter's great red spot churned below them, a constant reminder of the hostile environment they operated in. Primary quantum scanners online, Lieutenant Maya Patel announced from her station, dark fingers dancing across holographic controls. No signs of interference from Jupiter's magnetosphere. Sarah nodded, checking her own readings. The ship represented humanity's greatest technological achievement, built in secret using insights gained from studying the alien structure. Its hull bristled with quantum sensors and experimental interface arrays, all designed to communicate with technology they barely understood. Begin approach to Node Alpha, Captain David Rodriguez ordered. The veteran spacer had been handpicked by Admiral Torres to command this mission. Nice and easy, Helm. Let's not spook whatever's been watching us. The Prometheus glided forward, its experimental quantum drives allowing it to navigate the complex layers of space where the alien structure existed. Ahead of them, invisible to normal sensors, loomed one of the massive nodes they'd detected from Earth. Contact in 3 minutes, Maya reported. Quantum field density increasing. Sarah felt her heart racing. 6 months of preparation, countless simulations, and they were still flying blind. The node's energy signature dwarfed their ship, a lighthouse of quantum activity that made their most advanced technology look primitive in comparison. Dr. Chen. Rodriguez's voice cut through her thoughts. Final check. Sarah reviewed the interface protocols one last time. Ready, Captain. Remember, at the first sign of system rejection, we pull back. We can't risk. Warning klaxons blared. Maya's hands flew across her console. Massive energy spike. Something's activating. The space around them shifted, reality itself seeming to bend as the node responded to their presence. Geometric patterns of pure energy blossomed in the void, forming complex structures that defied normal physics. Hold position. Rodriguez ordered. Dr. Chen. Sarah was already deep in the data, her augmented reality display flooding with information. It's not attacking. I think it's trying to communicate. The geometric patterns stabilized, forming what could only be described as a doorway in space. Through it, they could see something. A vast chamber that couldn't possibly exist in normal space, its walls lined with crystalline structures that pulsed with internal light. My God, Sarah whispered. It's a database. The node isn't just a control point, it's a library. Before anyone could respond, a beam of coherent energy struck the Prometheus. Instead of causing damage, it interfaced directly with their quantum systems. The ship's AI core lit up like a Christmas tree as vast amounts of data began pouring in. Containment protocols holding, Maya reported, her voice tense. The data, it's self-organizing, translating itself into our systems. Hours pass as they received what Sarah would later call the archive. When it finally ended, the ship's quantum cores were nearly full, and every crew member sat in stunned silence at what they'd learned. "Play it again," Rodriguez ordered quietly. The first message. A hologram materialized in the center of the bridge, showing a being unlike anything they'd imagined. Tall, ethereal, with multiple limbs that seemed to exist in several dimensions at once. When it spoke, the ship's AI translated. "To those who find this record, we were the architects. We built the Aegis array to contain what we could not destroy. Our civilization spanned galaxies, but in our pride, we awakened something that should have remained sleeping. The entity, as we came to call it, defied physical laws. It consumed worlds, transformed entire species, and grew stronger with each victory. The being's form shifted, showing images of destruction on a cosmic scale. We could not defeat it directly, so we built this prison, a quantum cage around a single solar system where we finally managed to trap a portion of its essence. The array must be maintained. If it fails, the entity will escape, and your galaxy will face what we could not overcome." Sarah felt cold despite the ship's regulated temperature. "They chose our solar system. Earth, we evolved inside a prison built by gods." "There's more," Maya reported, her voice shaking. "The data, it's not just history. There are blueprints, specifications, maintenance protocols. They left us everything we need to maintain the array. Or rebuild it," Rodriguez added grimly. "Look at these power readings. The array is failing faster than we thought. Whatever's trapped in there is getting stronger." Sarah studied the alien schematics with growing horror. The entity was trapped in a dimensionally transcendent space throughout their solar system, with Earth itself acting as an anchor point. Their world had developed inside a cosmic butterfly net, designed to contain something that had once destroyed civilizations. "Captain," Maya's voice cut through the tension. "I'm detecting quantum disturbances throughout the array. Regular pulses, getting stronger. According to these translations, they're impacts. Something's trying to break out." Rodriguez straightened in his command chair. "How long?" Sarah ran the calculations 3 times, hoping she was wrong. "At the current rate of deterioration, 3 months, maybe less." "Send everything to Sol Command," Rodriguez ordered. "Priority Omega. Tell them," he paused, looking at the alien schematics. "Tell them we need to get ready for war." As the Prometheus turned back toward Earth, Sarah couldn't shake the image of those alien records. The architects had been so much more advanced than humanity, yet they'd failed. Now their last defense was failing too, and humanity would have to succeed where gods had fallen. In the quantum space around them, the impacts continued, growing stronger with each passing moment. Something ancient and patient stirred in its prison, sensing weakness in its bonds. The galaxy's oldest war was about to begin again. And this time, humanity would have to stand alone against the dark. The Global Defense Council chamber hummed with tense energy as Dr. Sarah Chen presented the latest data. 87 days had passed since their discovery at Jupiter, and Earth's greatest minds had worked around the clock to prepare for what was coming. "The array's quantum matrix is destabilizing at an exponential rate," Sarah explained, her holographic display showing the deteriorating pattern. "We've managed to reinforce critical nodes using adapted architect technology, but it's like plugging holes in a dam with our fingers. We're running out of hands." Admiral Torres, now sporting dark circles under her eyes from endless strategic sessions, leaned forward. "What about the containment protocols from the archive? The architects must have had contingencies." "They did." Sarah brought up new schematics, "but they required resources we don't have. The architects used exotic matter that we can't replicate with our current technology." Dr. Alexander Volkov, a quantum physicist from the Russian Space Agency, cleared his throat. "Perhaps we are approaching this wrong. The architects failed because they thought like architects. We must think like humans." The room fell silent. Sarah turned to her old colleague with growing interest. "What are you suggesting, Alec?" "The entity feeds on complexity. The archive shows this clearly. The architects built elaborate quantum prisons because that was their way. But sometimes, he smiled thinly, the simplest solution is best. Understanding dawned on Sarah's face. You want to weaponize the quantum degradation itself. Precisely. Volkov stood, taking control of the display. The array is failing because the entity's presence distorts quantum fields. But what if we could control that distortion? Channel it. Admiral Tor's eyes narrowed. You're talking about turning the prison into a weapon. Better. Volkov's fingers danced across the controls, showing new calculations. We turn it into a trap, one of humanity's design. The next 12 hours were a blur of activity. The plan was audacious, arguably insane, but it played to humanity's strengths. While the architects had tried to contain the entity with perfect structures, humanity would embrace chaos, controlled chaos. In orbit above Earth, the Prometheus underwent radical modifications. They stripped away safety protocols, reinforced quantum cores, and installed experimental systems based on both architect technology and human innovation. This is suicide, Maya said quietly as she helped Sarah calibrate the new quantum pulse emitters. You know that, right? Sarah nodded, double-checking their calculations. Probably. But if we do nothing, we definitely all die. At least this way we choose how to go out. The ship shuddered as another impact rippled through the array. The entity was stronger now, its attempts to break free more focused. Through the quantum sensors, they could see its influence spreading like cracks in reality itself. All stations report ready, Captain Rodriguez announced over the ship-wide comm. Dr. Chen, begin the sequence. Sarah took a deep breath and initiated the startup protocols. Around the Prometheus, space itself began to twist as their hybrid human architect technology came online. The ship's quantum cores pulsed with power that would have melted conventional systems. First fracture point detected, Maya reported. Entity is responding to the quantum fluctuations. Good. Sarah watched the readings carefully. It can feel the weakness. Let it think it's winning. The entity surged toward their location, drawn by what appeared to be a catastrophic failure in the array's containment field. But this breach was different. Engineered with precise imperfection, its chaos carefully calculated by human minds. Energy spike. Maya's hands flew across her console. It's taking the bait. The void erupted with impossible colors as the entity began to manifest in normal space. For the first time, humanity saw what had terrified the architects, a being of pure quantum potential, neither matter nor energy, but something that denied the very laws of physics. Now, Sarah shouted. The Prometheus's modified systems activated, not fighting the entity's quantum distortions, but amplifying them, channeling them. The trap wasn't meant to contain, it was meant to reflect. Hull integrity at 40%, Maya reported as the ship shook violently. Quantum core temperature critical. Hold together, Sarah whispered, watching as their plan unfolded. The entity's own power was being turned back on itself, creating a feedback loop of quantum distortion. It tried to break free, but each attempt only strengthened the effect. It's working. Volkov's voice came over the comm. The entity's quantum signature is collapsing. Through the viewport, Sarah watched as the impossible being began to fold in on itself, trapped in a prison of its own making. Human ingenuity had succeeded where architect perfection had failed. They hadn't tried to contain the uncontainable, but rather turned its nature against itself. The Prometheus's systems were failing, overloaded by forces they were never meant to channel. But as emergency sirens blared and bulkheads buckled, Sarah saw the entity continue to collapse, compressed by its own power into an ever-shrinking point of quantum potential. All hands, brace for quantum shockwave. Rodriguez ordered. The universe seemed to hold its breath for a moment. Then reality snapped back like a rubber band, and everything went white. When Sarah could see again, the quantum sensors showed something remarkable. Where the entity had been, there was now a perfect sphere of stable quantum space, a singularity of possibility. forever turning in on itself. Status report. Rodriguez called out, his voice rough. Ship's barely holding together. Maya replied, but we're alive. And she checked her readings again. The entity's quantum signature is contained, not by walls or fields, but by its own endless recursion. Sarah slumped in her chair, exhausted but triumphant. We did it. We actually did it. Indeed we did. Volkov's tired voice came over the comm. And in doing so, we have proven something the architects never understood. Sometimes the most elegant solution is not the most perfect one. As the Prometheus limped back to Earth, Sarah stared at the shimmering quantum sphere they'd created. The architects had failed because they tried to impose order on chaos. Humanity had succeeded by embracing chaos and giving it direction. The implications would reshape their understanding of the universe. But for now, Sarah was content knowing they had faced a god-killer with human ingenuity and won. The galaxy's greatest threat was now its own eternal prisoner, bound not by alien technology, but by human cleverness. And somewhere, she liked to think, the architects were watching in amazement. 3 months after the entity's containment, Sarah found herself back on the Prometheus, now rebuilt and enhanced with lessons learned from their desperate gambit. The quantum sphere containing the entity had become a source of both scientific wonder and growing concern. The data patterns are unmistakable, she explained to the assembled team in the ship's conference room. The entity isn't just trapped, it's trying to communicate. Captain Rodriguez frowned at the holographic displays showing complex quantum fluctuations. Are you sure it's not just trying to escape again? No, these are deliberate patterns. Sarah highlighted specific sequences. It's learned from our trap. Instead of fighting the quantum recursion, it's using it to encode information. The question is, do we dare listen? Dr. Volkov stroked his gray beard thoughtfully. The architects never attempted communication. Perhaps that was their greatest mistake, or their wisest decision. Maya countered, studying the patterns. This thing destroyed civilizations. It could be trying to manipulate us. Admiral Torres' hologram flickered as she joined the discussion. The Security Council is divided on this. Some want to attempt communication. Others think we should leave well enough alone. Dr. Chen, you led the containment effort. What's your recommendation? Sarah stared at the quantum patterns, remembering the terror and triumph of their confrontation with the entity. I think we've earned the right to know, but we do it carefully, on our terms. The next week saw the Prometheus transformed into a quantum communications platform. They developed multiple layers of isolation protocols, ensuring any exchange would be strictly controlled. Sarah led the team in designing a basic quantum language based on mathematical principles. Communication protocols ready, Maya reported from her station. Quantum buffers at full capacity. Sarah took her position at the primary interface. Beginning transmission. They sent a simple mathematical sequence, the first 10 prime numbers encoded in quantum states. The response was immediate and unexpected. The entity didn't just return the sequence. It completed it to 1,000 digits and then added something else. It's beautiful, Sarah whispered as the translation appeared on their screens. The entity was communicating in pure mathematics, expressing concepts that transcended normal language. As they continued the exchange, a story emerged that challenged everything they thought they knew. The entity hadn't been some mindless destroyer. It had been an explorer, a being from a universe with different physical laws trying to understand their reality. The destruction it caused came from its attempts to comprehend a cosmos that operated on principles alien to its nature. The architects attacked first, Sarah translated, her voice heavy with realization. They saw something they didn't understand and tried to destroy it. The entity defended itself the only way it knew how, by trying to remake small portions of space to match its home reality. That doesn't excuse galaxies' worth of destruction, Rodriguez argued. No, but it explains it. Sarah brought up new data streams. Look at what it's sharing now. Knowledge about quantum physics that makes our best theories look like child's play. understanding of dimensions we never knew existed. The entity's communications became more complex, revealing truths about the universe that both thrilled and terrified them. It showed them how reality was far more malleable than they'd imagined, how the barriers between dimensions were more like suggestions than walls. But with each revelation came a warning. The entity had learned from its imprisonment, gained perspective over the uns. It showed them visions of other beings like itself, of spaces between spaces where things existed that made it seem benign by comparison. It's not just sharing knowledge, Maya realized, studying the latest transmissions. It's trying to prepare us. Sarah nodded grimly. The universe is stranger and more dangerous than even the architects knew. The entity's presence in our reality was an accident, but there are things out there that would come here deliberately. And now we've attracted their attention, Volkov added. By containing the entity, we've demonstrated a level of quantum manipulation that makes us noticeable. Admiral Torres' hologram straightened. Are you saying we've painted a target on ourselves? No, Sarah replied, still translating the complex quantum language. We've painted a defender's mark. The entity, it wants to help us. It's offering an exchange. Its knowledge and assistance in protecting our reality, in return for controlled access to study our universe. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not only survived contact with a cosmic horror, they'd opened diplomatic relations with it. The entity's offer represented technological advancement beyond their wildest dreams, but it also meant accepting a role they might not be ready for. The architects tried to play cosmic police, Rodriguez said quietly. Look how that turned out. We're not the architects, Sarah countered. We didn't meet the entity with fear and violence. Well, not ultimately. We solved the problem like humans, adaptable, innovative, willing to try the impossible. Maybe that's why it's choosing to trust us. As if responding to her words, the quantum sphere pulsed with new patterns. Sarah's translation software decoded a simple but profound message. The architects sought to cage the unknown. Humanity seeks to understand it. That makes all the difference. Admiral Torres was silent for a long moment. Dr. Chen, you've led us this far. What do you recommend? Sarah looked around the room at her colleagues, then out at the shimmering quantum sphere that represented both humanity's greatest achievement and their biggest risk. I think we accept. But we do it our way. No cosmic prisons, no godlike proclamations. We establish protocols, set boundaries, and learn everything we can. She turned back to her quantum interface. The universe just got a lot bigger and stranger. But that's never stopped humanity before. Let's show the cosmos what we can do when we're given a chance to learn instead of fight. The entity's response was immediate, a burst of quantum data that their systems translated as something approaching approval. Humanity had passed a test they hadn't known they were taking, and the rewards would change them forever. As Sarah began establishing the frameworks for their new partnership, she couldn't help but smile. The architects had tried to play gods and failed. Humanity would try something much harder. They would attempt to be wise. 1 year after the first communication with the entity, Earth had changed in ways few could have imagined. Sarah stood in the new Quantum Interface Center, watching as teams of scientists worked with controlled fragments of the entity's knowledge, pushing the boundaries of human understanding. The Russians have successfully tested the first dimensional anchor, Maya reported, now serving as chief of operations for the global initiative. No more unexpected quantum fluctuations in their research sector. Sarah nodded, studying the massive holographic display showing Earth's new defensive network. The knowledge shared by the entity had allowed them to construct a more elegant version of the architect's array, not a prison, but a shield that could selectively filter dimensional intrusions. Director Chen, a young researcher, called out, "We're receiving new patterns from the entity." Sarah moved to the quantum interface station, her augmented reality implant automatically translating the complex signals. What she saw made her breath catch. Get Admiral Torres and the Council. Now. Within minutes, the chamber filled with holographic representatives from Earth's leadership. The entity's message was unlike anything they'd seen before. "It's showing us something beyond our galaxy," Sarah explained, expanding the quantum visualization. "Other entities, like itself but different, have noticed our activities. They're coming." The room erupted in concerned murmurs, but Sarah held up her hand. "This isn't a warning of invasion. It's an invitation." The entity's quantum patterns shifted, revealing vast networks of interdimensional communication and travel, highways between realities that they'd never imagined existed. Their solar system sat at a crucial junction of these cosmic roads. The architects weren't wrong about everything. Sarah continued, "This region of space is special, but they misunderstood why. It's not just a good place for a prison. It's a natural dimensional nexus. That's why the entity was drawn here in the first place." Admiral Torres' hologram stepped forward. "What exactly is the entity proposing?" "It wants us to take our place in what I can only describe as a cosmic community." Sarah manipulated the display, showing the complex network of quantum relationships between different species and entities. "We've proven ourselves capable of understanding and managing dimensional interfaces. That makes us valuable." "And what's the catch?" Rodriguez asked from his position near the back. The captain had become one of their most experienced quantum pilots, running regular patrols of the new defense network. "We have to be willing to grow," Sarah replied, "to accept that our understanding of reality, even with everything we've learned, is still just the beginning. The entity is offering to teach us, to help us develop into something new." Dr. Volkov, his hair now completely white, smiled. "Not gods, but perhaps custodians of reality. More like dimensional diplomats." Sarah corrected. "These other entities, they're not all like our friend. Some are hostile. Some are simply alien beyond our comprehension. The multiverse needs people who can bridge the gaps, manage the interfaces between different realities. And they think humans are right for this job." Torres asked skeptically. "We're adaptable." Maya jumped in. "We solved the entity crisis not by raw power or perfect technology, but by understanding the problem and finding an unexpected solution. That's what humanity does best." Sarah brought up the entity's final message. The quantum patterns translated into a concept that filled them all with a mix of pride and trepidation. The architects sought to rule reality. Humanity seeks to understand and protect it. You are ready to join those who maintain the balance between worlds. The implications were enormous. Earth would become a nexus of interdimensional diplomacy and research. Their descendants would learn to walk between realities, serving as mediators and guardians of the cosmic commons. "There will be risks," Sarah acknowledged. "We'll face things we never imagined possible. Some of them will be wonders, others nightmares, but we won't face them alone." Admiral Torres was quiet for a long moment. "The Security Council will need time to debate this." "With respect, Admiral," Sarah gestured to the quantum displays showing approaching dimensional entities, "we don't have much time to decide. The multiverse knows we're here now. We can either step up to our new role or try to hide from it. And hiding never works forever." The room fell silent as the weight of the decision pressed down on them. Humanity stood on the brink of becoming something new. Not conquerors or prisoners, but inheritors of a legacy greater than the architects had ever imagined. "The stars weren't our destiny after all," Sarah said softly. "The space between spaces, that's where humanity belongs. We're good at filling gaps, building bridges, finding ways to make the impossible work." One by one, the council members nodded. Earth's greatest challenge wouldn't be fighting cosmic horrors or building perfect prisons. It would be learning to serve as guardians of reality itself, using their uniquely human traits to maintain balance in an infinite multiverse. As the entity's quantum patterns pulsed with approval, Sarah couldn't help but smile. The architects had failed because they tried to impose their will on reality. Humanity would succeed by doing what they'd always done best, adapting, understanding, and finding their own path forward. The age of the architects was over. The age of humanity as universal mediators was about to begin.